Alien races A to E. Agarians, or Agartians, a group of Asiatic or Nordic humans who, sources claim, discovered a vast system of caverns below the region of the Gobi Desert and surrounding areas thousands of years ago, and have since established a thriving kingdom within, one which has been interacting with other planetary systems up until current times. Alpha Draconians, reptilian beings who are said to have established colonies in Alpha Draconis. Like all reptilians, these claim to have originated on Terra thousands of years ago, a fact that they used to justify their attempt to retake the Earth for their own. They are apparently a major part of a planned invasion which is eventually turning from covert infiltration mode to overt invasion mode as the window of opportunity, the time span before international human society becomes an interplanetary and interstellar power, slowly begins to close. They are attempting to keep the window open by suppressing advanced technology from the masses, which would lead to eventual Terran colonization of other planets by Earth and an eventual solution to the population, pollution, food and other environmental problems. Being that Terrans have an inbred warrior instinct, the Draconians do not want them /us to attain interstellar capabilities and therefore become a threat to their imperialistic agendas. Refer to else. Altarians, all-edged reptilian inhabitants of the Altair stellar system in the constellation Aquila, in collaboration with a smaller Nordic human element and a collaborative gray and terrain military presence. Headquarters of a collective known as the Corporate, which maintains ties with the Ashtaran Draconian collectives, Draconian, Ashtar Command Amphibian, similar to the Saurians or Reptiloids, yet being hominoid creatures with reptilian as well as amphibian-like features and are semi-aquatic in nature. May have once lived on land, yet became more aquatic over the centuries. They have been encountered near swampy regions, rivers, etc., and have been known to attack people without being provoked. It is interesting that some types of greys and reptiloids are believed to be semi-aquatic, having webbed fingers and toes, draconian. Amoeba-like creatures over polar regions of the Earth. No name that I can find. These have shown up periodically over the last 10 years. NASA is working on this. Every time they've been detected, all kinds of strange illnesses break out. They don't how they can stay alive and be in outer space. Anakim, also referred to the else, short for elder race or simply as the giants apostrophe. Referred to in ancient Hebrew tradition. This race is allegedly tied in with a branch of ancient humans who broke off from mainstream humanity because of their vast size which had developed over the centuries, possibly as a result of a genetic anomaly. They are said to range anywhere from 9 to 11 feet and in some cases even 12 feet in height, although in configuration they are remarkably similar to international humans. Are said to possess a means of molecular condensing and expansion which allows some of their kind to mingle among humans on the surface. They have allegedly been encountered in deep and extensive cavern systems below the western part of North America, as far north as Alaska, as far south as Mexico, and as far east as Texas. They are believed to have interstellar traveling capability. Andromedans. The Andromedan Council has ordered all extraterrestrial presences on the planet, in the planet, and on the moon to be completely out of our space. They want everything that's ET, benevolent or not, off the planet. This will be very interesting since there are over 1,833 reptilians living in our planet and over 18,000 greys living underground and on the moon. The Council would like to see how we will live with each other when we are not being manipulated by ETs, as we have been for the last 5,723 years. Anunnaki Nimrod and Iraq. Nimrod was a worshipper of Anu. Nimrod, unlike Abraham, did not believe in an unseen deity. Nimrod wanted Abraham to worship Anu. The Most High, known as Eliyahu El Nimrod, was the founder of the city of Babylon, and his most renowned architectural influence was the construction of the Tower of Babel. Nimrod also had a city named in honor of Anu. It was to be called Kalna or Kalne, Genesis 10:10, meaning fortress of Anu. It used to be an ancient city in Babylon, Mesopotamia. Kalna is often associated with Nippur, which is one of the 7 cities that was inhabited by the agreeable Anunnaki. Nippur was also known as Kodesh. It was originally called Nibruki, meaning earthplace of Nibiru. It was the city of Enlil, the Anunnaki Elohim, son of Anu and Antum. Not only was Kalna one of Nimrod's cities, there was Babel or Babylon, the ancient site and capital of Babylon near the Euphrates. Erech, a city 40 miles northwest of Ur, toward Babylon on the left bank of the Euphrates, and Akkad or Akkad, a city in North Babylon and a part of the district around it are all a part of the land of Shinar called Bimini, the country of 2 rivers, literally meaning plains of the flatlands. In the land of Shinar, today called Iraq, is the place where the ancient Sumerians Kamido set up an advanced civilization where you'd find pictographed cuneiform writings. Excerpted from the Spell of Leviathan 666, Spell of Kingu, by Dr. Malachi Z. York. Antarcticanthes is allegedly a secret area of operations for both human and reptilian beings. It is said by some that Aryan Nazi scientists actually developed disc-shaped aircraft capable of very advanced aerial performance, and that swastikas have been seen on a few aerial discs. They may be piloted by a purebred blonde, blue-eyed Aryan race. There appears to be more than one blonde human society involved in the UFO scenarios, and especially subterranean human societies may have developed blonde hair due to lack of sunlight. There does not seem to be anything more than a peripheral connection between the Antarcticans, the Telosian and the Pleiadian blondes, i.e. we will refer to the Antarcticans as Aryans, the Telosians as the blondes, and the Pleiadians as the Nordics in order to discourage confusion. The Antarcticans may consist largely of batch-consigned purebred blue-eyed, blonde Aryans who became victims of Hitler's obsession to create a super race, and as suggested by Harbinson and others, most of these may be controlled through mind manipulation and implants, being human drones who are used to keep this hidden society functioning. A massive joint humanoid reptiloid underground system called the New Berlin is said to lie below the mountains of Neuschwabenland, Antarctica. It is said by some sources that this joint human alien force has spread terror through this sector of the galaxy, conquering and committing untold atrocities against the peaceful inhabitants of other worlds. The famous abductee Barney Hill, who along with his wife Betty was abducted by Zeta Reticulan Greys in 1961, stated under regressive hypnosis that he had encountered an evil-eyed German Nazi working with the Greys on board the craft. It is claimed that the original treaty with the Greys was established by the Bavarian Thule and Illuminati societies as early as 1933, and this collaboration was brought into America via the CIA, which was established with the help of American Nazi Fifth Column agents as well as European Nazis who were brought into America through Project Paperclip and other operations. Antarius alien group that was affiliated with the Montauk Project, but only as observers. They look *human Arcturians. Arcturus is one of the most advanced civilizations in our entire galaxy. Edgar Casey. Further information here. Atlants. These are humans, usually described as being benevolent by comparison to other groups, who are said to inhabit vast and complex cavern cities beneath southern Brazil and surrounding regions. The term Atlantean or Atlan in reference to these races, has been placed upon theme because of the fact that these cavern networks along the east coast of Brazil were reportedly once a part of the antediluvian Atlantean Empire. The present inhabitants have no direct genetic relation to the ancient Atlantean society which is said to have controlled these cavern systems several millennia ago, but are referred to as Atlanteans simply because they are descendants of those who rediscovered and inhabited the ancient Atlan installations. As in North America and other continents, both common and gnome-like humans have been encountered here, some of which possessed advanced aerial or disc technology. The Telosians claim to have some connections with South America, especially the Mato Grosso region, where a sister city named Posit exists in a large cavern system underground. By avalanche refer to Agarians. Bigfoot. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. Bernarians, inhabitants of the Bernard star system. Although not much has been written about them, it seems that human beings at least in part control this star system, along with the Orange. Whether the Saurians have any influence or not is uncertain. However, some sources indicate a possible collaboration similar to that within our own Sol system. Bhutan's reptilians from the Boötes system. These, and reptilian entities from the Draconis system are allegedly involved with the Dulce scenario as well as the infiltration implantation control of human society on Earth in anticipation of their planned takeover at some point in the future. Draconian. Blue people. The Cherokee tell of a story of a race of people that were blue-skinned that they came upon when they entered the lands of Kentucky. They bragged over wiping them out, but we have recently found out that this may not be the case and they still may exist in the tunnel and cave systems of Kentucky and surrounding areas. To find out more on this ancient race, go here. Burrowers, another mutation of the saurian or serpent race that is capable of burrowing through the earth. Possibly quadrupedal as well as bipedal. These have been known to use their natural burrowing abilities to create artificial tunnels like moles, or even spontaneously produced caverns. The latter has allegedly been used in attempts to entrap or kill unsuspecting intruders into the underground domains. These may possess a highly developed biosensing system. But as being that dwells in spiritual darkness, the person may be intellectually developed. The Buddha are normally associated with nightmares, abductions and the taking of small children. They usually come around at night. The gray aliens who do abductions falls into this category. The reptilians are also part of this group. They are usually not very physically attractive. Apparently long ago there was a visitation long ago by Buddhas called Wakshasas who were negative, powerful, aggressive beings. Setians, or Tao Setians, a human race of Mediterranean or South American appearing, tan-skinned humans. Very similar to Caucasian humans on Terra except for slight differences, slightly pointed ears, higher physical density for their size, slightly broader nose, 5 inches tall on average, and often wear short Roman or Crew-style haircuts. Tau Ceti and Epsilon Eridani are said to be a major convergence of exteron human activity, and are said to be in alliance with the Pleiadians, who in turn, according to contactees, have federated alliances with the Vegans, the Emmets, and others. The Setian alliance with the Pleiadians and other societies who have been victimized by the Grey Predators is based on a desire to establish a common defense against Theoreptilian nemesis. Chameleon reptilians genetically bred to enable themselves to appear human apostrophe. Also less humanoid appearing reptiloids who use a form of technesis, molecular shape, shifting and or laser holograms to produce an outward human appearance. Reports of Thesihave surface from underground joint operational facilities near Dulce, New Mexico, Dugway, Utah, Groom Lake, Nevada, Deep Springs, California, and Fort Lewis, Washington and elsewhere. They are reportedly involved in some type of infiltration agenda. These infiltrators can appear remarkably human outwardly, however at the same time retaining reptilian or neosaurian internal organs. Often described as appearing bulge-eyed with scaly, hairless skin behind their disguise. One report alleged that the chameleons may utilize artificial lenses to conceal slit-pupilled iris. Some claim they are genetically bred mercenaries who are part of an advanced guard of a planned silent invasion takeover of human society. Deras an underground species. Some believe them to be human while others see them as non-humans. These are the beings from which comes our legends of leprechauns and trolls. Unlike the Taros, these little beings are considered demented and cannot be trusted. The Taros try to keep them under control and keep them from having excessive power. The Daros live in underground tunnels, cities and under the sea. This group of insane cave dwellers were called Sumanian, meaning the obese ones, or Samin, and abandoned Daros, or as they are called today Daros, which is a combination of words detrimental and robots. These Sumanians or Daros really exist. Their chief is Yaba'an. The Sumanians are constantly in conflict with the group of beings called the Duwanis, who hold the same belief, that they too will take over the planet one day. They are born by hatching from eggs that are 4 to 6 feet in diameter. They grow to 7 feet and are extremely obese. The Daros who live in the caves are regenerated so much that they don't have much intelligence. They have 2 stomachs and their digestive system is the same as that of a cow. Daros and cows both chew the cud, meaning when they eat, they chew their food and it gets through the initial stages of digestion where it reaches a large sac that is before the true stomach. The food is then regurgitated to the mouth for further chewing. This is called chewing the cud. The Daros have no fingernails, toenails, nipples, navel or rectum. Their eyes are silver gray and they glow in the dark. They have blonde eyebrows and a pinkish gray color skin, much like the corpse of a Caucasian, and a pig, having not being exposed to the inner or outer sun. Other than their eyebrows, they have no hair on their bodies because of a disease called trichotillomania, and are responsible for the diseases trichinosis and trichiniasis. They have no teeth. Their mouth appears to be full of a gummy, slimy substance. They are nocturnal and hear extremely well. They're not very peaceful and have a strong dislike for human beings. They are very human in appearance, yet far from it. Their noses are long, trunk-like, which is very similar to that of an elephant. They contend that the planet Earth was theirs originally and will be theirs again one day. Many people today who are obese are descendants of the Daros. I'm talking about thus a people who have a serious weight problem, weighing over 300 pounds, which is abnormal for human beings. It is obviously a hereditary glandular problem and is caused by overactive glands. Certain endocrine gland disorders, such as hypothyroidism or tumors of the adrenal gland, pancreas, or pituitary gland, can cause obesity. It is a trait of who they are from. The Daros. Dinosauroids, human dinosaurs, saurians from the Nevada Aerial Research Journal for summer, 1989. Reprint a UPI news item which appeared in a Berkeley, California newspaper. Dale Russell, curator of fossil vertebrates at the National Museums of Canada in Ottawa, has developed a theory that intelligent life forms could have developed from the large reptiles that roamed the earth in ancient times. Russell calls his imaginary creature a dinosauroid, which would look like a hairless, green-skinned reptile with a bulging skull, luminous cat-like eyes and 3-fingered hands. The amphibians evolved into a humanoid species that eventually developed a culture that ran its course or was destroyed in an Atlantis-like a catastrophe just after they had begun exploring extraterrestrial frontiers. Certain UFO knots, then, may be the descendants of the survivors of the amphibian culture returning from their space colony to monitor that present dominant species on the home planet. Dracos, Mothman. The elite of the reptilians are the Draco. They even have special wings, which are flaps of skin, supported by long ribs. These can be folded back against the body. They are also known as the dragon race and their symbology usually includes the winged serpent. Also known as the Mothman. There are elements of their species which do not have wings, the soldier class of the species and scientists Draco-Borg cybernetic forms controlled by reptilian entities. These would also include those forms which are animated by fallen supernatural or paraphysical entities, whether of gray, human-like, mechanical or other configuration. There are some who suggest that human-appearing infiltrators of this type may exist in our society, and that certain characteristics might give them away, i.e. the eyes, a slightly sulfurous smell, unrefined features such as no fingerprints or ears or other body parts which seem to have a slight artificial appearance. Dragonworms. These creatures are largely subterranean and have been reported on very rare occasions. Although a mutation of the serpent race which lost the use of its limbs through centuries off atrophication, it is nevertheless apparently a part of the reptilian conspiracy. The dragonworms are reportedly very intelligent, according to certain sources. They have sometimes been described as appearing similar to a giant reptilian worm or slug. Dropus humanoid type. Average height 3 to 4 foot. Crashed on the Sino-Tibetan border in 10,000 BC. Tribe of this culture still exists today. Dwarfs diminutive humans who have allegedly been encountered in or near caverns in various parts of the world, including Northern California and the southeastern Arizona/southwestern New Mexico region, and in some in connection to UFOs, although most reported dwarf sightings in connection to UFOs are actually sightings of the Saurian Greys. These should not be confused with the small elementals or nature spirits which some believe are ethereal in nature yet have the ability to appear in solid or semi-solid form at times. The dwarf races are allegedly just as human as surface peoples but average between 3 to 4 feet in height, although at times they have been seen as small as 2 feet. As with the giants, or else this diminutivity may have resulted in a genetic anomaly which ran its course due to the separation of their races from the international gene pool. They allegedly live in subterranean systems to a large extent as a protective measure. And as we've said, some allegedly possess aerial disc technology and interplanetary travel capabilities. Elohim's is the oldest group of aliens in the universe that we know of. They are the ones that are at war with the Orions, which are the ones that manipulate the Greys. Else giants are defined as Else, Anakims, based on the myth El Dare race, tied in with the ancient Hebrew traditions, of Adamic heritage, having a very tall stature. Nephs or Nephilim. Also known as the Titans. Not to be confused with the Elohim's El, could be elite, may be from the Orion group with an outpost base inside the planet Mars. Some prophesize that there will come a time of a great battle between the Else and the serpent race and use Revelations for the reference. Revelation 12:7. Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon and his angels. The Book of Enoch from the Dead Sea Scrolls says how these men married earth women, who bore giants 3,000 cubits high. Note, a cubit is 1 sacred Jewish inch, so 3,000 cubits would be about 250 feet. These people may have helped build the pyramids. The men of renown, the red and blonde-haired Aryan giants of that epoch, are dug up today all over the world, including the United States. Red and fawn-haired mummies, 8 to 11 feet tall. But the words for red and the red-haired race have found their way into biblical names, all off following denote the race that formerly ran the Garden of Eden. Adamites, Scythians, Phoenicians, from the root phenos or blood red. The Garden of Eden in Greek literature, the Garden of the Hesperides, and as Dionysius Periestus once said. In the Hesperides whence tin comes dwell the sons of noble Iberes. Tin comes from South UK at Cornwall. The garden was known as the Fortunati Insulari, the Fortunate Isles of Bretanides, or Ultima Thule, the farthest land. More information in biblical history and prophesies of the Else. EVA Borg cybernetic forms controlled by human entities. Or humans who have been implanted or surgically altered to such an extent that they have become cybernetic in nature, yet still retaining a soul matrix. Alien races. Gizon, or Gizon. The Giza people have been referred to by the Pleiadians, Billy Meyer contacts, as well as others. This may have some connection with the strange people and technology allegedly encountered in deep labyrinthine recesses beneath Egypt, who were sometimes reportedly seen by explorers, and who are said to dress like ancient Egyptians. There is allegedly, according to leading-edge research, a huge cavern deep beneath Egypt which is inhabited by people with close ties with the U.S. secret government. Some sources indicate that the Giza people may be a controlled society with the reptilians being the dominant power, although there is still much mystery as to what the Giza Empire is all about. Grails. These are Saurian Grey type entities which are apparently somewhat taller than the usual encountered Greys, yet with extremely thin rail-like torso and limbs, yet very strong. Greens, the humans of normal size, yet who possess an olive green skin color. They claim to be from a subterranean or cavernous realms beneath Europe which they refer to as St. Martin's Land. Greys, the Zeta Reticulans, see star map. This is the group of aliens who abducted Betty and Barney Hill in 1958. And these are Theons who have supposedly been doing the majority of the abductions. They are said to have no emotions and little regard for human life. The dim point of light known to us as Zeta Reticuli is actually a binary star system, and its 2 stars are each very much like our own yellow sun. It is not visible in the northern hemisphere. In our Earth sky, it is approximately equidistant between the constellation Orion and the celestial South Pole. The constellation Reticulum is a fairly small collection of faint stars, of which Zeta is barely visible to the naked eye, even though it is relatively close to us at approximately 40 light-years right around the corner in galactic terms. Click below image. They feed off of human and animal vital fluids by rubbing a liquid protein formula on their bodies, which is then absorbed through the skin. Like typical reptiles which shed their skins, the waste is excreted back through the skin. The greys range from 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall on the average, with skin colors ranging from gray-white to gray-brown to gray-green to gray-blue. Aside from feeding off of human and animal proteins and fluids, they also allegedly feed off the life energy, the vital essence or soul energy of humans, as do other reptilian species. This is why those humans seen working with the greys, implanted and programmed drones, whether willingly or unwillingly, have appeared lifeless and emotionless to the witnesses who observed them. The Zetas or Greys live in the constellation Reticulum by the star Zeta II Reticuli. A planet was discovered there and then suddenly taken off the list. Further descriptions on Greys. Primary physical characteristics of the Greys. The larger Greys apparently have some vestigial reproductive capability, and some off-hybrid species that have been crossbred with the taller reptilian species have full reproductive capability. The brain capacity is estimated to be between 2,500 and 3,500 cc, compared to 1,300 cc for the average human. Due to the cloning process, the neural matter is artificially grown brain matter, and the Greys have known technology that enables them to insert memory patterns and consciousness into clones in any manner or pattern that they wish. The Greys consume nourishment through a process of absorption through their skin. The process, according to abductees who have witnessed it, involves spreading a biological slurry mixture that has been mixed with hydrogen peroxide, which oxygenates the slurry and eliminates bacteria, onto their skin. Waste products are then excreted back through the skin. Many abductees have noted that the Greys have a distinct series of odors. The larger Greys have a more pronounced nose. According to some government sources, these extraterrestrial biological entities called themselves the Ebon. It is with the larger Greys that elements of the government made a series of diplomatic agreements in the 1950s, 60s and 70s. More on the Greys. The Greys are involved in the stockpiling of humans, including children, for use as a food source for the reptilian species, and as a lesser food source for themselves. Physiological characteristics of some gray reptilian species autopsied by United States government. Alien life form, ALF, term used by the government to describe the Greys in terms of being a malevolent life form. The deal with the Greys is that their field around their body is different to ours, to the point where merging of the fields ends up creating physical symptoms, the body terror mentioned by people like Whitley Strieber. The field around them is in direct opposition to ours. It is an anti-life field, as thesis-specific species are on a devolutionary spiral. They are akin to soldiers of fortune, and offer their advanced technology and trade for things they require. They are experts at manipulation of both the human body, through manipulation of the fields, and the human mind. They require blood and other biological fluids to survive. They abduct humans and animals in order to acquire these fluids. They implant small devices near the brain which potentially gives them total control and monitoring capability. These devices are very difficult to detect. The analysis of the devices by technical staff has produced a description that involves use of crystalline technology combined with molecular circuitry, and these ride on the resonant emissions of the brain and the various fields of the human. Information is entrained on the brain waves. It appears that all attempts to remove the implants, 1972, have resulted in the death of human. This is usually due in part to the fact that the implants are attached to major nerve centers, and once attached the nerve tissues grow in and around the implant, essentially making the implant a part of the nervous system. When relatively unsophisticated medical procedures are used in an attempt to remove the implants, major nerve centers are damaged as a result, causing severe injury or even death. Various descriptions of the ALFs relate the following characteristics: between 3 to 3.5 feet in height, erect standing biped, small thin build, head larger than humans, absence of auditory lobes, external, absence of body hair, large tear-shaped eyes, slanted approximately 35 degrees which are opaque black with vertical slit pupils. Arms resembling praying mantis, normal attitude, which reach to the knees, long hands with small palm, claw-like fingers, various number of digits, often 2 short digits and 2 long, but some species have 3 or 4 fingers, tough gray skin which is reptilian in texture, small feet with 4 small claw-like toes, organs that are similar to human organs but have obviously developed according to a different, mutational, process. A non-functioning digestive system, 2 separate brains, movement is deliberate, slow and precise. Alien subsistence requires that they must have human blood and other biological substances to survive. Other indications suggest that originally they did not require human blood, but once having used human blood for this purpose, they have since acquired a racial addiction to this vital substance. This goes far beyond just mere physical hunger, since the Greys/Reptiloids tend to feed off the human life energies resident within human blood plasma, in what may be considered a vampirial type of hunger for human vital fluids. In extreme circumstances they can subsist on other, cattle, animal fluids. Food is converted to energy by chlorophyll by a photosynthetic process. This supports results gained from autopsies at 29 Palms underground base where it was seen that their blood was greenish and the tissue was black. Waste products are secreted through the skin. The two separate brains are separated by mid-cranial lateral bone, anterior and posterior brain. There is no apparent connection between the two. Some autopsies have revealed a crystalline network which is thought to have a function in telepathic, and other functions which help to maintain the group consciousness between members of Thesemy species. Functions of group consciousness in this species does have a disadvantage in that decisions in this species come rather slowly as the matter at hand filters through the group awareness to those who must make a decision. More on the Grays. The Grays are primarily situated as 4th density beings, although there are a small number that are 3rd and 6th density. To 3rd density humans they appear cold, cruel and heartless. They are, in fact, extremely curious about all aspects of existence, highly analytical and devoid of sentimentality. They can experience emotional manifestations radiated from terrestrial 3rd density human, and use this ability generally as a mood elevator. The Greys manipulate humans in order to create situations of conflict or extreme pain and emotion to acquire these sensations. They are, in effect, sensation junkies. The Greys have the ability to pick out our emotions, thoughts and experiences. For them, this is the closest they can come to experiencing feeling. To those beings who have some form of ethical conduct, the Greys appear psychotic and degrading. They are masters of mind control and mental implantation technique. Their physical attributes reflect their psychotic souls. We could easily consider them to have antisocial attributes as well as tendencies toward megalomania and schizophrenia. They have been described by some as being absolutely mad. To make matters worse, they are performing other actions with terrestrial humans that are quite perverse. The Greys are playing a game with us that depends heavily on maintaining a situation where humans view themselves as limited, fatalistic beings with no control over their own destiny. They continually manipulate humans, that is playing the domination/control game. Gypsies. Several sources refer to the Gypsies as having some connection with the UFO mystery. Other sources suggest a connection with high-tech subsurface kingdoms such as Agadi, etc. The knowledge which the Gypsies allegedly possess of an ancient war, UFO craft, and so on is supposedly a carefully guarded secret among various Gypsy tribes. Some claim to have traced the Gypsies back to ancient India or surrounding regions. The infamous Philadelphia experiment information source, Carlos Allenda, was allegedly part of a Gypsy clan with knowledge of past and present history on alien cultures which have interacted behind the scenes in Terran affairs. Alien races Tajav, Musuvs, or Suvians prominent in Paiute Indian tradition. The Musuvs were allegedly an Egyptian or Grecian-like seafaring race who discovered huge caverns around 3,000 to 5,000 years ago within, and later deep beneath the Panamint Mountains of California. Within these they then established their vast underground cities. When the inland sea, now Death Valley, which connected the ocean in ancient times dried up, they had no way to carry on trade with other parts of the world. As a result of this, according to Paiute Indian tradition, they began to build and fly silvery eagles which became increasingly advanced as time went on. They then evidently established interplanetary and later interstellar travel, exploration and colonization. This huge facility is now operating as a major Federation base on Earth, and possesses huge chambers with differing environmental, atmospheric and even gravitational conditions to accommodate the various visiting Federation dignitaries. Hominshamans is the name given to large, human-like creatures that are reported across the world. Who bride hybrids possessing reptilian and human genetic coding yet who possess a human soul matrix. Hyades. The Hyades in the constellation Taurus, like the Pleiades and Vega, are said to have been the destination of yet another group of refugees from the ancient Lyran wars. Hybrids, reptilian. Since human and reptilian beings are genetically so different in their physical makeup, a natural hybrid between the two is impossible. However, an unnatural genetic alteration, in essence splicing human and reptilian genes, has allegedly been attempted. Even if this were accomplished, the offspring would not be an actual hybrid, half human, half reptilian, but would fall to one side or the other. Since reptilians possess no soul matrix as do humans but instead operate on a collective consciousness level, the hybrid would be human or reptilian depending on whether it was born with or without a soul energy matrix. In most cases one might tell the difference if the entity had round pupils as opposed to black opaque or vertical slit pupiled eyes, or 5-digit fingers as opposed to 3 or 4, or external genitalia as opposed to none. This may not always be the rule, especially when the chameleons are considered. Some of the hybrids without souls are fed with human soul energy in an attempt to engraft an already existing human soul matrix into the hybrid. Hybrid grade following description is of a hybrid female, approximately 15 years old. Height is 5 feet, 3 inches, skin color is pale white/gray. The head is slightly larger and rounder than normal. Hair is dark, high above the forehead and worn in a long ponytail. The face is very fine-featured and attractive. Method of communication is telepathic. They consider themselves human, not gray, in almost all respects. They care about the grays, as any child would a parent, but find them boring. The desire for human contact is great. Their capacity for emotion is as great, if not greater than, humans. Their intellectual capacity is well above human standards. Very likely to accept the capabilities of both races. Human type aliens. Human type A. These are of a genetic base similar to humans of Earth. They appear off normal height, 5 to 6 feet, and tend to be fair-skinned with blonde hair. These entities have been abducted by the Greys or are the offspring of abductees and have been trained by the Greys as servants. These entities are totally subservient to the Greys. Human type B. These are aliens of similar genetics to Earth humans and also, it seems, of the humans that serve the Greys. These are from the Pleiades and are also of the blonde, fair-skinned appearance. This type is of a genuine highly evolved, spiritual, benevolent variety and have a kinship toward humans and are the only aliens to be truly trusted by Earth humans at this time. They had at one time offered to be of assistance to Earth leaders in dealing with the alien situation here but were rebuffed and so have taken a kind of hands-off approach for the time being. These aliens are supposedly the forefather race of humankind. These are apparently not on Earth much at this time due to serious problems in the area of their home. Human type C. Very little is known about these. They are supposedly another of the highly evolved, spiritual type of great benevolence to Earth humans. I understand that their appearance is similar to other human type aliens. They are from Sirius and don't appear to be much involved with Earth happenings at this time other than being concerned about the Grey scenario. They could desire to be of help to humans. There are other known human type aliens of this more highly spiritually evolved nature. They are apparently aware of the situation on Earth and considering some possible course of action. These are from Arcturus and Vega. The following article appeared in the summer 1993 edition, Volume 3 Number 2, issue of Ufoniverse magazine. Group A, non-Earth-born humans. This group consists of 3 peoples from 3 distinct colony zones, namely Sirius, Pleiades, and Orion. Genetically, they are nearly identical to Earth-born humans with the following exceptions. Abductees refer to these beings as the Tulls. Males average up to approximately 7 feet in height, females, 6.5 feet. They are extremely fine-featured, pale in complexion. Eyes are almond-shaped, slightly slanted with a natural black liner, much like terrainderings of ancient Egyptian royalty. There are 3 hair colors apparently related to colony origin: blonde, Pleiades; red, Orion; and black, Sirius. The insignia of these combined human races is a triangular arrangement of 3 spheres. This symbol has deep significance, and is found throughout Earth history. History records these beings as goddesses, gods, devas, etc. A subgroup of females is in command of most Terran projects. Group B, Earth-born humans. These are Homo sapiens whose origin is the planet Earth. They can be divided into 2 separate classes. Class A, Ancient. These humans were the companions and house servants of a Group A military mining and occupation force. When this force left the Earth sometime between 1000 BC and 3500 BC, it was decided to remove all humans that had been in close proximity with them. It was felt that leaving them would only further disrupt normal human development. Class A humans are on an equal level with Group A and cooperate fully in all Earth projects. Class M, Modern. These humans are working on the same cooperative level as Class A. They were taken from the Earth in modern times. During some abduction projects, twins, either identical or fraternal, are induced in a female subject. During the first trimester, one of the fetuses is removed. It is then grown to maturity by Group A. Abductees will meet their twins during some abductions. Very limited contact has been made by these humans. Group C, genetically modified Earth-born humans. These humans are comprised of 2 classes and should not be confused with Group Greys. Class W, Workers. This class is the smallest in physical stature. They are redescribed as approximately 3.5 feet in height, large head and eyes, pale white in complexion. These workers were created by Group A through genetic modification of Earth human fetuses. Their function is to perform menial tasks requiring limited reasoning abilities. In mental capacity, they are equivalent to a 5-year-old child. They are incapable of violence and, in some cases, are kept as companions by Group A individuals. Class T, Technicians. These humans are basically the same as Class W. They are slightly larger, at approximately 4.5 feet in height. Their complexion is tan or yellowish. Their reasoning and deductive abilities are higher. This allows them to perform more complex operations. They are often seen operating ship controls and in transport activities. Both classes W and T are telepathically camouflaged to appear as Greys to abductees. This is done to conceal the true nature of Group C. It is felt that perception of Group A maintaining a human slave population would hinder future contact efforts. This point will undoubtedly be a source of much heated debate in the near future. Iguanoids approximately 4 to 5 feet tall, with iguana-like appearance yet hominoid configuration. They have sometimes been seen wearing black, hooded monk robes or cloaks which conceal much of their saurian features, which include tails. These have been reported as being extremely dangerous and hateful towards humans and lesser-ranking reptiloids such as Greys, and like all other branches of the serpent race they utilize black witchcraft, sorcery and other forms of mind control against their enemies. They appear to be a dimension-hopping sorcerer or priest class among the reptiloid species. Icals or satyr, small hairy humanoids with cloven hoofs which inhabit deep caverns beneath South America and elsewhere. They may be members of a fallen pre-Adamic race which possessed angelic, animal and humanoid characteristics. Now allied with the reptilians. They have been known, according to natives, to kidnap women and children down through the ages, and many stories are told of South American tribes who have battled these creatures with machetes during certain of their forays to the surface in search for women, children or food. In situs residence, either permanent or temporary, of the various different secret society connected top secret government underground installations, bases or colonies throughout the United States and the world. Some of these groups may possess advanced technology enabling them to travel to various other planetary bodies in the solar system. This group is international in scope and may be tied in with the alternative 2 and 3 scenarios. Genosianthes is allegedly a planet on which human beings live or once lived. They apparently arrived on that planet some thousands of years ago according to certain contactees, and had all along retained dim memories and legends concerning their ancient home world, planet Earth, where their ancestors lived long before their colonization of the planet Janos'. They are said to be like Terrans, although somewhat oriental and slender. A group of refugees is said to have left Janos centuries ago in a huge carrier vessel of roughly donut-shaped configuration after an asteroid or meteor shower devastated the surface of their planet, causing a chain reaction in their nuclear power grid, loosing deadly radiation into the atmosphere and onto the underground tunnels and cities which they had built beneath Janos. They apparently remembered the star route back to Earth, and the latest reports stated that they were in a high orbit somewhere near the Earth and are seeking contact with Earth governments to exchange technology for a place to live on, or below the Earth, in the tradition of the TV series Alien Nation. In light of other revelations and lack of confirmation from other contactees, this might be a staged draconian propaganda operation. On the other hand, the account may be legitimate. Jawas, another group of extraterrestrials, has been termed the Jawas, after their resemblance to the creatures in the film Star Wars. This group is distinguished by their clothing. They wear hoods and robes, are generally short, 3 to 4.5 feet tall, and their faces are concealed by the shadows thrown by their hoods. There has been reports that this species has glowing eyes. Kondrashkin group, which was short for the Kondrashkin. They have pale skin that had a slight greenish tint and almost no hair. They looked human, and have to bleach their skin and wear wigs. They have been periodically involved with cover projects since the 1940s. Connected to the Montauk projects and other Black Op projects. Korendian humans allegedly living on a colonized planet known as Korender'. Perfectly human in proportion yet 4 to 5 feet tall on the average. Gabriel Green described alleged contacts with this group in publications during the late 1950s, early 60s. The accounts published by Gabriel Green were rather fantastic, although perhaps no less so than some other accounts. Robert Renault is one of the main Korendian contactees, and he claims that they have a large underground facility somewhere in Massachusetts. The Korendians claim alliance with the Arcturians and are part of a massive collective alliance of worlds who lean more to non-interventionism than to direct interventionism. Leviathans, sea saurian sea serpents such as the so-called Loch Ness monster. Loch Ness has been the site of much occult or paranormal activity including UFO activity, Grey sightings, etc. Aleister Crowley, the Satanist Illuminist founder of the OTO or Ordo Templi Orientis, claimed to be in contact with the Beast of the Loch. He owned a mansion on the shores of the Loch, and this same mansion later became the residence of the British occultist Jimmy Page, who not only played with the British rock group Led Zeppelin but also owned a large bookstore dealing with witchcraft and the occult. Being aquatic in nature and having lost the use of their limbs via atrophication and mutation, this branch of the serpent race is allegedly used for long-range psychic warfare and occult manipulation of the human race. Leverance alien group that is affiliated with the Orions. Associated to the Montauk Project. Listen to Mary Sutherland interview John Melanie as he describes these light workers, where they are from. His and his wife's work with them as they learn how to use the human body as a tool to work on this earth plane. Laron supposing that the human inhabitants of Lyra, who are said to have a common origin with Terran humanoids, were driven out of that system several million of years ago, then it is likely that some of the present-day inhabitants of the Lyra constellation may be of reptiloid descent. During the Lyran Wars, which are mentioned in several contactee accounts, a mass exodus of humans reportedly left the system and escaped to the Pleiades, the Hyades, which are 130 light-years from Earth in the Taurus constellation, and to Vega, which is also in Lyra. This region, like our own system, may still be a battleground between Saurian Greys and humans. Martians, inhabitants of the planet Mars, both human and non-human, including the alleged inhabitants off the 2 Martian moons, which many believe to be artificially hollowed asteroids, one of which, Phobos, is said to be under the control of the original Greys, or self-reproducing Greys, which are the hosts for the Grey clones which operate from various space stations that are disguised as planetoids. It is from these carrier ships that the abduction, implantation, programming, mutilation, infiltration and other projects are carried out against planet Earth. It has also been suggested that thousands of years ago the surface of Luna and Mars were much more habitable, that the surfaces of these bodies may have been decimated after passing through the asteroid belt or an asteroid storm, consisting of debris which may have been torn from a planet which apparently existed between Mars and Jupiter at one time, possibly destroyed by a close encounter with another planetary body in the tradition of Velikovsky's theories. It is believed that ancient ruins, possibly thousands of years old, have been seen on both planets and that these attest to such a cataclysm. MIBs, also referred to as the Men in Black or Horlocks. These are apparently in many cases humans who are controlled by draconian influences, although other MIB have been encountered which do not seem human, but more reptilian or synthetic. The MIB have been encountered often after UFO sightings, usually intimidating witnesses into keeping silent about what they've seen. Many of the witnesses may be abductees with suppressed memories of the event. Their threats appear to be motivated by attempts to utilize terrorism, fear or intimidation as a psychological weapon against witnesses. This weapon may not only be used to keep human MIB under control, but by the human MIBs themselves. They are often, though not always, seen in connection with large, black automobiles, some of which have been seen disappearing into mountains, as in the case of one basing area between Hopland and Lakeport, California, canyons or tunnels, or in some cases apparently appear out of or disappear, cloak, into thin air. Most humanoid MIB have probably been implanted by the Draconians and are essentially their slaves. Biosynthetic forms possessed by infernals also seem to play a part in the MIB scenario, as do Subterranean and Extraterrestrial societies. Sirius, at only 9+ light-years away, has been identified as a major Extraterrestrial MIB center-off activity, with a subterranean counterpart existing in ancient antediluvian Atlantean underground complexes which have been established beneath the eastern U.S. seaboard. These could be considered almost humans, made with animal tissue and depends on a computer to simulate memory. A memory the computer has withdrawn from another human being. The almost humans may also fall under the category of the zombie-type aliens. Moon eyes, a race of peaceable humans some 7 to 8 feet tall, with pale blue skin and large wrap-around eyes which are extremely sensitive to light. They may be the same as the large humans allegedly encountered on the moon by our astronauts, according to John Lear and others, who in turn were silenced and not allowed to tell what they saw. These people may, according to some accounts, be allied to the Nordics and or Blondes'. They claim to be descendants of Noah, who traveled to the Western Hemisphere a few centuries following the deluge and discovered ancient antediluvian cavern systems and ancient technologies which had been abandoned by the antediluvians in deep subterranean recesses. They have been encountered mostly in deep cavern systems beneath the general region of the Ozarks, Arkansas and surrounding regions. The only real evidence we have on their existence is an early report of the Cherokee Indians telling of a blue-skinned race that they encountered. Mothman, largely subterranean, pterodactyloid-like hominoids with bat-like wings. Sometimes describes as possessing horns and thus are considered very similar to the traditional depiction of the devil, according to certain individuals who have encountered them. Although often referred to as Mothman, this title might be a little misleading. These creatures, which have also been referred to as the Sukars, Pteroids, Birdmen and Winged Draco, have been encountered near underground systems near Montauk Point, Long Island, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and Dulce, New Mexico. Identical to the Sumero-Babylonian Utaki, a demon of the Kigal or underworld. Nagas, also referred to as the Reptoids, Reptiloids, Reptins, Homosaurus, lizard men, or the large-nosed Greys'. They play a significant role in the legends of India and Tibet, where they are considered by some to be demoniacal residents of a subterranean realm. They are described as being around 7 to 8 feet tall and of various colors, grotesque, but most often moldy greenish with scaled crocodilian skin. Allegedly descended from a branch of bipedal sauroids which existed thousands of years ago on Earth, and via mutation and natural selection developed the brain-body coordination necessary to develop a technology. Some species still reportedly retain a visible tail, although much atrophied from their supposedly extinct saurian ancestors. Some abductees claim that the lizard people resemble a humanoid version of a velociraptor. After a reputed battle in ancient times between a pre-Scandinavian race from the Gobi region and a reptiloid race based in Antarctica, the reptilians allegedly lost the battle for domination of the surface world and were driven into underground networks in which they eventually developed aerial and space technology. The Nagas are said to have appeared at the birth of Gautama Siddhartha, who later became Buddha. B. The ancient well of Sheshna in Benares, India, is traditionally where the Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali, a classical guide to students of yoga, was written. This well is said to be an entrance to one of the Nagas' underworld lairs. Sherman Minton states that Sheshna's well, an alleged opening into the underground reptilian underworld of Patalas, consisting of 7 worlds or cavern levels, may be seen today in Benares, India, and it has 40 steps leading down into a circular depression to a stone door covered with cobras. This is said to lead to Patala, the reptile netherworld legend of the Nagas, the serpents which live in extensive underground palaces in the rocky Himalayas. It is believed that these creatures are able to fly in space and that they possess amazing magical powers and intelligence. They are not too fond of man if he is a curiosity seeker, explorer or mountaineer. According to the sacred tradition of the Hindus, the deep caverns of the Nagas contain fabulous treasures, illuminated by flashing precious stones. The subterranean abodes are known to be in certain parts of both the Himalayas and Tibet, particularly around the Lake of the Great Nagas, Lake Manasar. Nordics, wingmakers? Blonde, blue-eyed, angular faces. Although Nordics are humanoid and externally almost identical to humans, there are subtle differences in the Nordic alien physiology, and most of them are based on the living conditions that they have grown up in. Their planets are extremely hot and dry, and have a low oxygen content in the atmosphere. They have a larger lung capacity than humans and have a copper-based blood in order to carry oxygen more efficiently. The eyes are protected by inner lids and can allow them to see into the ultraviolet range of the spectrum. They have only 28 teeth, as they lack a back pair of molars. Their heads are longer than humans. The brain case is about 2 mm thicker and the bone is harder. The brain is the same as the human brain as far as structure and size is concerned, except for the midbrain area, where here are functions that allow telepathic and telekinetic skills. It explains the psionic powers of Nordics. They average about 2 meters in height. Females about 1.7 meters. They have no sweat glands. The skin allows moisture to be drawn from the air as well as moisture to penetrate. The heart beats at around 242 beats per minute, and the average blood pressure is 80 systolic and 40 diastolic. They have extremely dilated blood vessels. The heart is located where the human liver would be. The cartilage that would protect a human heart extends down 3.5 centimeters further in the Nordic in order to protect this structure. Blood cells are biconvex in contrast to the concave cells of humans. Kidney type functions on the allow about half the liquid consumed to be excreted. The rest is evidently put back into the system. Urine is thick with minerals and appears in color and texture to freshly pumped crude oil. Feces are dry pellets with all moisture removed. The adult Nordic can regulate the amount of adrenaline in their body. They have no pineal gland. Nordic females are capable of being impregnated at any time, but the males are capable of impregnation about once a year. The period of incubation is 3 to 5 months. Orange. These entities largely converge beneath southern Nevada, northern New Mexico and possibly Utah. Some sources refer to a 1. Human race with stocky yellow, red or orange hair, others of 2. A genetically altered, humanoid reptiloid strain or hybrid. They are often described as having a humanoid form yet certain reptilian genetic features. They are also said to possess human-like reproductive organs, and possibly, or not, a human soul matrix, and therefore a divergent branch of the human race, or reptiloid race depending on which type of orange one is referring to. As some accounts suggest, there may also be 3 orange-colored reptilians which possess no soul matrix. Refer to hybrids and hybrids. Some of the orange allegedly have connections to Bernard's star. These may also be the Native American psycho or red giants. In 1911, miners were digging out layers of bat guano from a cave located about 22 miles southwest of Lovelock, Nevada, when they happened upon the mummified remains which would have stood 61/2 feet tall alive. The mummy was still crowned with distinctly red hair. The ancient legends of the local Paiute Indians described a race of red-haired giants who were the enemies of many Indian tribes of the region. Orion Saurians, which come from the stars in the Orion constellation, are a group claimed to be working with the government on black op projects. They are very heavily involved in influencing the world population through the use of mind control. They have also been doing genetic work in which they alter a human sperm and ovum to the extent that all offspring will produce hybrids with new characteristics. Humans will mate and create children with alien genetics. That's one step beyond the average abduction scenario. Some claim that negative entities have been associated with some of the stars in the Orion constellation. Other sources claim that the Orion Nebula is a cosmic doorway to infinity or realm of the Creator, which transcends the time-space-matter universe. Some astronomers claim that a huge, beautifully illuminated multicolored light has emerged from the nebula and is on an intercept course with Earth, although at a rather leisurely pace. At this rate, this light or star will reach Earth approximately 3000 AD, give or take 100 years. Could this have something to do with the prophecy in Revelation 21? Since the Draconians are attempting to conquer the heavens, they may have made futile attempts to enter the Eternity Gate and intercept the emerging light, war in heaven between Michael and the Dragon? This may explain the alleged presence of the Draconians in the Orion constellation, although certain human groups have allegedly become curious of the Eternity Gate as well. The Orion Open Cluster itself is the base of a joint reptiloid, Grey Empire called the Unholy Six, which has been working out of Nemesis in an effort to sabotage the human presence in the Sol system. Many of the planetoids that have entered this system and have made observable course alterations are arriving from Nemesis and the Orion Draconian Empire. Philadelphia Project Aliency refer to them as this because I wasn't given a name for this type of alien. They were detected as one of their ships got caught up and sucked in with the Eldritch, which ended up 40 years, August 12, 1983, later at Montauk. They were about 6 foot 5 inches tall. They were essentially human in appearance. They had dark leathery skin. They had no hair. Where they came from is not for sure. Reptilian, Draconian, Serpent. According to Tal Levesque, Jason Bishop, having been within arm length of reptoids, I did get to observe various details. They wore no clothes. But they did have a utility belt, with several unusual things on it. One device had a small orange light on it. When this is touched, they simply disappear. I have quickly moved into the spots where the reptoids were, instantly after they disappear. There was no temperature anomaly in the zone. I had expected it to be cooler in the area, if they were draining energy to manifest, like happens in various kinds of apparitions. They did change density at times. They made heavy footsteps, in the hallway, on the wood floor. And could walk through the walls. They glow an electrical blue/greenish color, like some kind of aura. The head is similar to the reptilian humanoids on the TV program Babylon 5. The head was more cone-shaped, like the Yeti kind of have. In fact, the reptoids are built like Bigfoot. The one has scales, the other has hair. The eyes are slit serpent-like. Very strange, flame-like and flickery. 3 fingers and an opposing thumb. With claw-like talons, on fingers and feet. A small tail. Large scales, like a breastplate on the chest. The scales were smaller where the body is flexible, like around the elbow. The scales were like a snake. I guess that is why some call them the serpent race. The scales were mostly green to very dark green, on each scale a variation of color. They are telepathic. Very quick thoughts. Ideas driven by images and geometric impressions. Not a linear form of communication, like words. More, of a symbol or image language. They do react to or thoughts. They can overwhelm you with data, it seems like thought compression. It can take you a long time to assimilate their transmission and integrate it. After a while I saw the language, as fractal Mandelic hyperspheres or thought form constructs, to pass data. These sucks are data freaks. Highly intellectual. Limited emotional response, hate, fear and a short-circuit confusion state, mild panic. You can think or do the unexpected and they do freak out. So, stay calm and centered. They respect that. Then they think you are dangerous. But, if you fear them, they will taunt your weakness and will disrespect you. Careful, don't disrep them either. They are no better than you. I glean they want something we have. Something in our soul nature. We can shift to theta balance and link to the source. They are too far into analyzing. Unbalanced. They like drugs like cocaine, opium, magic mushrooms and milking humans for endorphins. They can't get into your mind without you having the opportunity to get into the reptilian brain, too. They know a lot about the outward form of creation. They know the force, but, behind that is the source. They need us, we don't need them. But what do they need? Our vital source. Our life source. Our soul force. Sutherland, Brazilian, Jefferson Souza claims that the following revelations are from the personal notes and scientific diaries of a scientist who was commissioned by the US government over a period of several years to visit all crash sites, interrogate captured alien life forms and analyze all data gathered from that endeavor. Eventually this person was discovered to have kept and maintained personal notes on his discoveries and was therefore scheduled for termination, not just job termination. Which he narrowly escaped. Following 33 years of investigations, he went into hiding in 1990. Here is some data which this anonymous informant reportedly gathered on the reptilian-type alien entity's average height. Male, 2.0 meters. Female, 1.4 meters average weight. M, 200 kilos. F, 100 kilos body temperature. M, ambient temperature. F, ambient temperature pulse/respiration. M, 40 tenths. F, 40/10 blood pressure. M, 80/50. F, 80/50 life expectancy. M, 60 Earth years. F, 23 Earth years cold-blooded. Like all reptiles, the reptiloid is found to flourish in a warm, tropical clime, normally artificial. Big caves, with imperfect respiration providing just enough oxygen to supply tissue sand maintain the processing of food and combustion. Their temperature can be raised only a few degrees above the ambient. This suggests that heat weapons, like flamethrowers and so on, may prove to be very effective and fatal to this species under battle conditions. The reproductive system is oviniparous, with eggs hatching in the oviduct prior to birth. The underdeveloped reptiloid cerebellus, for faster activities, physical activities, results in a slowness and simpler city of movement. The reptiloid eye is composed of thousands of microscopic facets, each facet with its own independent protective lid. The eye is almost never closed entirely during waking hours. Rather, sections of the organ are shut down in conjunction with the dominant light source. The reptiloid survived hidden inside the earth, within big caves underground. Additional information in the reptilian blood legacy. Syrians. The Syrians are usually described as about 6.5 feet tall, blonde hair cut very short, and blue eyes that have a cat's eye vertical pupil. There has been some discussion as to whether these negative Syrians are part of the Kamagal II group that built the records chamber under Giza, but that has not been established. The negative Syrians are considered part of the Orion group that is playing the domination/control game. Shining ones. Tibetans and American Indians both refer to shining beings they encounter in isolated spaces during secret religious rituals. They are humanoid and lit within. They guard sacred sites on earth, holding them in trust for a future of wonders, and are bearers of great wisdom. These may be the counterparts of the Celtic fairy traditions. Some abductees, including Betty Andreasson, have reported such beings. Science fiction writer Philip K. Dick wrote letters at great length beginning in February 1978 referring to encounters with just such shining beings. He wrote 500,000 words on incidents between him and the light beings over a 4-year period before his death in 1982. Dick found himself kept awake at night by violent phosphine activity. Within my head it communicated with me in the form of a computer-like or artificial intelligence system-like voice, quite different from any human voice, neither male nor female, and a very beautiful sound it was, the most beautiful sound I ever heard. The imposition of another human personality unto mine produced said startling modifications in my behavior. Some living, highly intelligent entity manifested itself inside me and around me, viewed what it was, what its purpose was, where it came from. Each theory leaves some datum unexplained, and I know this is not going to change. I have the impression Tata master game player and magician and trickster is involved. Dick's insistence that it was both another human personality and that it had a computer-like voice, supports the theories being presented here. If the shining beings that imposed itself was both a robot and an emissary from a human source, this makes perfect sense. Philip K. Dick was a very influential writer, so much so that an annual award is given in his name. His stories were made into movies such as Blade Runner and Total Recall. Featuring accurate ufological elements. Taros source, 1996 Nuwabian calendar, Extraterrestrial. Amongst us the Taros, which is short from integrative or constructive, are a subsurface race that usually keep the Daros in check. The Taros were the original tribe of the Lunarians who came to this planet to dwell beneath the surface of the earth. They are referred to as the Sun Inans, meaning the yearly ones. The Daros were for disagreeable people and the Taros were for agreeable people. Their chief is named Lamza, right photo. The Taros came from the planet Goatman in the star constellation Arcturus, which is in the Boötes constellation. Arcturus, the red giant, the fourth brightest star in heaven, is where much mixing took place. The Sun Inans have 48 chromosomes instead of the normal 46 that Earth people possess. The Taros chromosome structure is so different from Earthlings that when mixed with certain humans, it caused a defect of 47 chromosomes, which today is called Down syndrome. Their children are usually born with breathing defects as well as congenital heart disease, and they also have poor digestive systems. Their immune system is unable to function properly, and they are more apt to developing leukemia. The Taros that have an abundance of pigmentation in their skin are descendants of the Shuyuk. Those who are lacking pigmentation are descendants of the Halabines, Fluggelrods or Hulub. The Taros bored further into the earth and were able to keep their sanity. Because of crossbreeding, the Taros took on different forms. Some look so human they can come to the surface and not be noticed. Zombies, humans with alien brain implants programmed to help overthrow mankind in the near future.